Good evening and welcome to Images 24. I'm Eric Dillner, the CEO of Shoreline Arts Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Images was created in SAA's founding year to celebrate the gift of the photographer, their keen eye, their innovative approaches, and their ability to capture a moment in time. It has grown tremendously over the years thanks to dedicated volunteers, these amazing photographers from across the state of Connecticut, and of course, the dedication of our jurors to go through all this just amazing work and find a fantastic show for us. I'm so excited tonight to introduce you to Arden Spihar. Arden has been with us for the summer, helping us manage the submission process and the judging process. And so many of you will know her from her fingers, but tonight you're going to get to know her throughout the evening. Arden is a rising junior at Vassar College, studying cognitive science and art history, which you can tell why she's with us. That wonderful degree that she's seeking, we put that to use all summer long, especially with your online show. She curated it with a breeze. And so many more things to come in the next few weeks. Arden, we're going to be so sad when you disappear from us in a couple of weeks and head off to Copenhagen for your sabbatical, your semester abroad. But tonight we're so grateful you're here, and I hope you can take it away from here. So Arden, here we go.
Thanks, Eric. I'm going to be equally sad when I have to leave here. Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Arden. Like Eric said, I'm an intern for the summer at Shoreline Arts Alliance, and I've been helping manage and facilitate the submission and the judging process for images. Before we start, I really encourage you to explore our online gallery, not just because I'm biased, because I had the privilege of curating it, but just to click on the photos and see the artist statements that are right there for you, read a little bit about what inspires each photographer and why they care so deeply about their art and the world around us. And once you've taken a look, we invite you to choose a few of your favorites and vote for them as an audience favorite in our People's Choice Awards. So we ask for a $3 donation attached to your vote. And not only will you be helping choose the People's Choice Award, but you'll be supporting a fund dedicated to offering artists free submission at future exhibits. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. Over 600 images were submitted by artists throughout Connecticut, juried by 3 remarkably talented and respected authorities in the world of photography. These amazing judges took care to review each and every piece over a 4-day period. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to introduce each of them to you. I'm first going to introduce one of our jurors who can't be here tonight, who is Morgan Post. Morgan's recorded some videos for us, which we're excited to share with you. Morgan is an author, artist, and educator. He's passionate about equity in art education and photographic materiality. Post authored the textbook Alternative Photographic Processes for the Contemporary Photography, A Beginner's Guide, which was published in Routledge and Focal Press in 2022. And much of his artwork involves environmental, social, and art activism. Post teaches at Fairfield University in Connecticut, and he conducts workshops and research at the Penumbra Foundation in New York City, and he also lectures and exhibits nationally and internationally. Yeah, we're very sad he can't be here with us tonight, but we're excited to have the opportunity to share some of Morgan's videos about our award winners. Next, I'd like to introduce you to another one of our spectacular jurors, Joe Jurson. Joe, we're so fortunate to have you here with us tonight. Joe was born in Detroit and studied graphic design and photography at the University of Michigan School of Art, and he graduated cum laude. Since leaving school, Joe has made photography a constant and serious part of his life. He splits his time between New York and Connecticut and finds inspiration in the familiar and well-trod backyard paths of his garden in Madison, Connecticut, and the bustling streets and avenues of New York City, as well as the unique locations he pursues in his travels back and forth across the country and when he's overseas. He's continuously working to develop his technique and intensify the images that engage him. His varied work experience as a gardener, photographer's assistant, art director, and film producer have been a continuing adjunct to the constant nature of photography. And his work is represented in 5 fine art photo galleries in California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and Virginia. And his work can be found in numerous public and private collections. Joe, thank you for being here with us tonight.
I would love to meet this guy.
I would
Thank you.
also finally like to introduce everyone to another one of our spectacular jurors, Greig. Greig, thank you again. We are so fortunate to have you here as well with us. Greig was born in Vancouver, British Columbia, and he lived in Montreal, New England, and Alaska before beginning his photography career in New York City. In a career spanning almost 4 decades, his clients have included the Council on Foreign Relations, the Japan Society, the International Typeface Corporation, and countless publications, corporations, universities, foundations, and NGOs. Based out of Boston since 1982, his diverse clientele has had him shooting across Canada and the US, with some forays into Argentina, Belize, and Eastern Europe. Greig, thank you so much for being here with us tonight as well. We would be so honored if you could share a few words on behalf of the team of jurors and a little bit about how you all came together to choose these selections.
Sure. Well, I have to add to the bio piece. I also own and run a gallery, a photography gallery in Cambridge, and opened 6 years ago. Well, I volunteered to write the juror statement, so I guess I get to talk about it. But basically, what we said and agreed to is that when a group of people come to be on a jury, they bring very diverse things to that group. Their relationship to photography, whether they've been working as commercial photographers, fine art photographers, curators, and this particular jury was really, really congenial. We came from very diverse backgrounds in different areas of photography. I mean, my work I've been a commercial photographer my whole life. But we agreed on just about everything, and the important little nuances of photographs we are all seeing. And one of the important pieces of the jury in this show was that it wasn't just an award, it was going to be a show that was going to be hung in a gallery. So a lot of thought went into, in my case anyhow, things are going to look and how they're going to work together as a unified show on a gallery wall, because that's what I do here. I take diverse photographs and try to make them into some kind of a narrative that makes sense visually. And I think that's what we've established with this show. I think it's a good looking show, and it will look really good when it's on the walls.
Yeah, thank you for that, Greig. That was so informative, very helpful. Yeah, now that we have kept you all in suspense for long enough, I think we're ready to announce our winners and our honorable mentions. So Joe, I will leave it to you to present the next 2 slides. So our first slide.
It was very interesting when we were given the charge to make our selections. We were not given the name of the person, the photographer. We were not given titles. So we know nothing more than just the framed picture. And in this instance, what made this particular photograph special was it wasn't what it was of, but rather what it was about. And what it was about could be interpreted in many different ways. What was the relationship between the 2 people in the frame? But even beyond that, the colors, many times color photographs are really complex, and you lose a narrative because there's so many other distractions. This was simple. There was a relationship here. So it was the color, it was the subject matter, it was the careful composition, the way that the hat just about touches the frame. And the little girl is filling, even though she's a small image, she fills that other half of the frame. There was just a photographer's eye that worked on this piece, and it struck us all. We liked it.
Great. Yes. So congratulations to Bill Canosa for his incredible piece direction.
Can I add
Next.
one thing to that?
Yes.
I love the use of negative space. I don't think enough photographers understand negative space. That every inch of the canvas does not have to be filled. And the other thing I liked about that photograph is that it's enigmatic. It left me asking questions. It didn't have all the answers in it. It left me questioning it, and that makes it stick in my head more. So.
Yeah. Okay, our next first honors winner goes to Hank Paper for his piece Evening in Florence. Joe, I'll let you take it away.
Well, this one's very serendipitous because I just got back from Florence last week with my family. And the irony of our trip to Florence was that there was never a square foot of Florence that wasn't crowded with people. So Hank got a special opportunity here where he found a solo individual. But what also was really entertaining about this particular image is the humor, I thought. The statue is kind of gesturing like, what do you think about this person? But there's a relationship here again, as in the previous photograph, between two people, one real, one not. And the distance between them, the weight of each of them is equal. Like Greg was saying about the use of negative space, I think this was a very successful photograph in that regard also. Would you agree, Greg?
I would, and I would also like to add that one of the things that attracts you the most is the shadow detail. I mean, if that was all blocked out behind him, it would be less interesting. I love shadow detail. I love seeing into the shadows, and I like the fact that it looks like he was lit with a spot, and just to jump out of that, and that's and his hair matches the statue. There's just a lot of really nice things going on there.
I think if it was a young person, it would not have been as successful. There was a certain wisdom in the gray hair of the person standing there.
I also liked that my first impression was he had an animal on a leash. And it was when I looked at it a second time, I realized it's a cane, but I still sort of see an animal on the leash when I look at it.
Yeah, it's certainly more than a travel photograph. There's much to be interpreted. And the nice thing is every time you look at it, you find something different.
Awesome. Well, okay. Thank you both for that. Our next first honors winner goes to Sharon Hirsch for her piece Coraline Sun. This next award is going to be discussed by Morgan via video since he can't be with you tonight. So here is Morgan to share a little bit about this piece.
Hello. This is my name is Morgan Post. I'm one of the jurors for Shoreline Arts Alliance, and I wanted to, because I will be out of the country, wanted to give some quick insights on some images that I had selected to speak about. The horse in the stable, that was one of the top 4 prize winners. I was very interested, along with the other jurors, with the atmosphere created by the dust in the stable and the attention to detail in those delicate, subtle highlights. And it was very masterfully worked on. Very beautiful photograph.
And Joe and Greg, if there's anything that you have to add.
Yeah, I'm not a big horse person, but that picture, I like atmospherics. You know, it's very atmospheric. It's you know, anytime sun rays are going through rain, dust, or fog. It just it's nice, and the light is very directional, so it has a nice diagonal feel to it, and it just feels good, just like it.
I think you'll see in each of the photographers that we chose, there's a certain intentionality to the image that they took. There was thought, there was time, there was effort in composition and balance and all the things that make a good photograph. This was not something that I think was just shot in an instant as a snapshot. I think that it was something that was noticed and then composed.
Right. Completely agree. Greg, I'm gonna turn it back to you for our next first honors winner. This is Fading Beauty, won by Scott Suich.
Now, this one really surprised me that I chose it, because I'm not a big fan of flower photography. Running a gallery, I get bombarded with people and their flower photographs, but this transcends flower photography. This looks like it could be one of the glass flowers blown, in the collection at Harvard's Peabody Museum. It looks like it could be an antique light bulb with filaments in it. It's got a delicacy and a luminescence and kind of a sensuality to it that I really, really like it. And it's not a standard flower picture. And I think, I'm glad you put it on the poster because I think it's dynamite. Yeah, sorry, I hope it but it's got so many different pieces to it. It looks like it could be a jellyfish. It looks good. I mean, there's so many things that it could be, and it's just very unusual. So I like it, and I love the colors. Anything, Joe, you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered it all. It again, it just has the photographer's eye.
We love it too, like you said, on the posters for a reason. Okay, so I'm gonna give the floor to both of you in a minute to announce our Ann Christensen Award, and the Ann Christensen Award goes to a photograph which leaves a lasting impression. So Joe and Greg, take it away. This is Orca's Island by Jim Elting.
Want to go first, Joe?
Well, the beautiful thing about this is that it is so layered and it's so full of texture, but it's also full of wonder. And you wonder how that day was spent where these oars are finally resting after it. It reminded me of some of the photographs that Alfred Stieglitz has taken around Lake George. It's just a wonderful summer day that it reminds you of. You could remember spending a day like that where it ends with a good day on the water and then oars resting under the tree. So it gave you a chance to reminisce. I like that part of it.
Well, there are a lot of things I like about it. I mean, it's given that it's an award that for a photograph that leaves a lasting impression. This is a photograph that I could see in my collection, that I would like to continue looking at. I love the oars. Again, I'm a shadow detail maniac, and the shadow detail in that tree and in the pile of twigs, but that mystery of what's around that lit corner, where those highlights are, it gives it a certain, again, it's that layered thing. It's not just the oars, it's a whole combination of layers, and that where does that path go, and are they used? Have they been used? Or, there's just a lot of things in it, and just frankly, it's just very, very visually appealing. It's a beautiful print. Again, the tonality of it is great, and it's just it's just stuck with me. So in my opinion, it's the appropriate photograph for that award.
Correct. I agree.
Not to put you guys on the spot here, but I remember when we were talking about this piece, you guys spent a lot of time, talking about the composition and the color. And so I'm wondering, how do you sort of weigh these technical aspects like composition and color, or maybe lack thereof, against these other elements like creativity and the emotion that the piece sort of evokes, which I imagine was something you were kind of, thinking a lot about, especially for this award?
Well, that's something that everybody brings something different to it. I mean, I've had many different kinds of shows in this gallery, and some people gravitate to and some they don't. Same thing with my own collection. Some people gravitate to things in my collection and others they don't. I love black and white. I've always liked black and white. I spent decades working in the darkroom printing black and white, so I appreciate when black and white really is beautifully done. But I also feel like a good photographer is not really thinking that much. I mean, most of this stuff just appears in the viewfinder and you either know it or it's not. I mean, when I look through the viewfinder, I know whether I have a photograph or not. I don't spend a lot of time moving elements around. It's just, and I mean, this looks like something I would have shot on a 4x5 camera, where I would have spent time composing every element. But it doesn't look it. It doesn't look like it was labored over. It looks more spontaneous.
Right. It was a beautifully found image. But the other thing about it being black and white is it's almost abstract because of that. So it becomes a design, but I think the technical aspects of it, where he retained the texture of the trees, and yet that field in the background is all in focus.
Yeah. And there's highlight detail there, which is, to me, again, the perfect black and white print has got a highlight detail and shadow detail and as many tones in between as you can get.
Right.
But I'm old school.
Thank you both so much. Those are so many great points, so much there. So next, I think we're ready to move on to our honorable mentions. Our first three honorable mentions are going to be discussed by Morgan again via video. So the first honorable mention goes to Fruma Markowitz for her piece, The Girl Who Ran with Gazelles. And here is Morgan to share a little bit about this piece.
The gilded cyanotype, which appears to have Hebrew letters, young child, it looks like antelope or deer dancing around. It's a very, very intricate, beautiful, and well executed photograph and image. It is a beautiful piece of artwork. I enjoyed the entire series, but this one stood out to me a bit more. It left a lot of secrets and things to think about.
Joe and Greg, if you have anything to add.
I'll leave it at that.
Sounds good. So our next honorable mention goes to Chuyen Fan for their piece Winding Tracks. And congratulations, Chuyen. And here is Morgan again to share a little bit about this piece as well.
The next image I'm going to speak about appears to be either a salted paper print or a albumin print of railroad tracks leading down into the void. So technically, the way the image was made is very, very fascinating. It looks very much like it was a historical lens, beautiful, swirly bouquet around it, with this very, very condensed railroad tracks that kind of, offer a little bit more of the lens that was made to make the photograph. And then it was printed in whatever process it was printed in. Gorgeous, beautifully executed image.
So there's Morgan again. And Our next honorable mention, introduced by Morgan, is awarded to Harmony Chamberlain Harrington for her piece Easy as Pie. Congratulations to Harmony. And here is Morgan one last time.
The fourth image I'm going to be speaking about is what appears to be a mother and daughter in the kitchen. It looks like they made a pie. This is a beautiful narrative tableau that is really intimate, but also has a bit of sheen and gloss. I think maybe because it was always photographed with the artificial light mixing in with the natural light. It's beautiful. The young child looking away, looking at the mixer, you know, like the spoons, everything, and yet the mother is just like, this is the pie. Look, we made the pie. This is hard to do. But the child is just very, very nonchalant and just enjoying the experience. It's a very interesting dynamic between what appears to be mother and child. Very beautiful photograph, very well executed. I had a very excellent time during this competition with everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in the gallery in August.
So that's all we have from Morgan. We'll definitely talk more about him in the gallery later. Again, congratulations to those three honorable mentions. We're so excited to be able to showcase your work today. I'm going to turn the floor back to Joe for these next two honorable mentions. So this honorable mention is Sophia 2 by Kathy Frederick. Congratulations, Kathy, and Joe. Take it away.
Well, I have a friend who was a very good friend of a photographer named Bruce Davidson, and he did a series of at a circus, and that was what this image brought me back to. I really don't know if this was a midway act or if these were just snake trainers or what they were, but there's a direct, beautiful August Sander is another person that I thought of when I saw these. He went through Europe and he photographed in his small town a lot of the occupations of the people in that town. And it's just an honest portrait of people who I think make a living taking care of this snake. But I like that it was in black and white. I think it made you just focus on the three of them together, and it makes for a wonderful portrait. Greg?
It's hard to resist a picture of a snake wrapped around people. I have a couple in my portfolio, actually.
I would not have guessed that about you.
But it's reminiscent of Mary Ellen Mark. I think I'm pretty certain it's hers with the elephant whose trunk is wrapped around its keeper. It's a shot on 2¼ film, and but it's just reminiscent of a number of things. But I like it. I like small town circus and sideshows, and it's taking two guys to hold this snake, which is I think is just really cool, and I just like it.
Great. Thank you both. And then our next honorable mention is Injustice by Sue Mullaney.
Well, what was most interesting about this photograph was after we selected it, then we saw the title. And it wasn't something that we had thought about when we were looking at it, but the title certainly puts upon this photograph much more meaning. I was thinking of the work of Walker Evans when I saw this, and what Walker Evans does when he took many of these kinds of pictures was he forces you to slow down, take time, study the composition. And this is a perfectly composed image. There's just enough air around the building in the frame, and it makes you delve in and look at the textures and the balance of the building itself, the tone of it, also adds to its interest of age. And I after then seeing Injustice, it's like, oh no, I have to think about this in a completely different way now. So it was more than just a composition. It was a statement. So
One of the things I liked about it is I have shot a lot of architecture in my career, and directional light is so important to bring out texture in brick and in roofs, and there is no directional light on this. This is a flat light, like on a gray day, and it has erased so much of the raised three-dimensional texture. So it concentrates you more on like the wear and the tear on the boards. It starts to look like an Andrew Wyeth painting, who I was just at the Farnsworth Museum in Maine last week and looking at Andrew Wyeth stuff. And this is very reminiscent of that kind of flat, non-directional light that sucks you into this texture. It just
I think an Andrew Wyeth palette is right on. It's very painterly too, for that reason.
yeah. And kind of irrelevant. The title is, I don't really generally pay much attention to titles. I see what you mean here, Joe, but to me it's painterly. I think that's what I like about it the most, is it's not an architectural photograph.
Yeah, thank you both for that. I love how you both mentioned these these elements of composition that just come from a lot of close looking, whether that's the texture or just the way that the photograph is arranged. I'm wondering if you guys could talk a little bit about how, looking through all these photos, if you were reminded of ways that photographers are kind of how they're using their work to maybe slow us down and encourage us to be more mindful observers in comparison to, all the content that we're consuming all day.
Well, it's interesting because everyone's walking around with their iPhones, and that would be the curious thing to know, is how many of these photographs were created. Was it with a camera, with a, single lens reflex camera, or was it an iPhone? It's remarkable the quality that you can get. Not that that makes a difference about the ultimate end product, but I think in all of these images that we picked, there was a lot of time that was taken to think about what was in the frame, and then it makes the audience take that same amount of time. I think you're absolutely correct. It slowed us down, and that's why it took a few days to go through 600 images, because we wanted to be deliberate in our selections and take the time to think about each of the pieces that we looked at. So we tried to give a fair shake to everyone who submitted, and tried to put ourselves in their place to see their perspective and why they captured the image that they did.
Well, that whole idea of slowing things down, Arden, is, I've worked with every format imaginable in my career, and there were times when you're in a helicopter or something, and it's great to have a motor drive on a camera that will bang out 10 frames a second, but I love just as much being under the hood of a 4x5, and where everything is upside down and backwards, and you're composing it and looking at the details and thinking and slowing it down. I mean, you're one sheet at a time. And I've always loved working on, with a big camera on a tripod, because it does slow you down, and you start seeing things that you wouldn't ordinarily see. And I think that is a problem with, the rampant cell phone use. I mean, so many people just banging away without really taking in the scene and absorbing what it is they're actually photographing. But again, I'm old school, like I said.
No, that's great. I thank you so much for both of you. Those are such great perspectives. I think, yeah, okay. So next, Greg, I'm gonna turn it back over to you for these next two honorable mentions. So this honorable mention is Coraline Dragon by Sharon Hirsch. Congratulations, Sharon, again.
So
Um,
she, yeah, we didn't know, we didn't have names attached to these photographs. I kind of assumed it was the same photographer, same kind of, same appreciation of light and design. This photograph has really stuck with me. The thing that I love the most about photography is its ability to capture a moment in time that's irreproducible. And one of the reasons I decided not to become a studio photographer is because I felt like I could go into a studio and set up the same thing day after day after day and shoot it. But it wasn't as exciting to me as to capture a moment that nobody else was ever going to get to see, except through my work. Now, how much premeditation went into this photograph, I don't know. This woman is obviously a horse person, so she's on the back of this horse, which creates a really interesting graphic. But the nostrils, I mean, that's the kicker. It's just, I love it. It creates all this dimension and the shape and atmospheric, and I can hear the horse snorting on a cold morning. I just, I oftentimes judge how I like photographs. I wish this was in my portfolio. This is a photograph I would like to have in my portfolio. And that's how I look at a lot of stuff, so I think it's great. I think it works in many ways. Joe?
I happen to agree with everything you said. I don't know that we knew. She also did the one of the horse in the barn. Is that
Right.
Yeah, but this one was more graphic. I mean, one was graphic, but I think because of the perpendicular forms of the neck and then the steam, it became a very captivating image. If I'm not mistaken, this was also one of those contenders for the memorable image
Yeah.
award.
And the other thing, I'm not a horse person, but those erect ears say to me that paying attention to something that's ahead and maybe snorting in response. I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions there. I just like looking at it.
Mhm.
Down to. I wish I had taken it.
Great. Okay. And our next honorable mention is Westwood's Guilford by Robert Giannotti. Congratulations to Robert. Greg, take it away.
This is another one that's right in my atmospheric wheelhouse. There's a lot of mystery here. It almost looks like the rocks were dragged along that road and left there, like that's their trail. Anytime a light colored road snakes off into smoky, misty woods, I'm going to pay attention. It's, again, it's got great tonal value. It's got nice blacks, nice whites. It's got all kinds of stuff in between. And it's got a little mystery to it. It's not answering any questions. It's just got me scratching my head, and that's why I would come back to it time and time again.
I think that's right. I mean, these are two big immovable objects that are found together in the middle of a path. That's what it looks like. And it makes you ask why. And that's a good thing about a photograph.
It's as far as the guy got who was lugging the rocks.
Yeah, I think you both, are kind of touching on this idea already. And I think, when you're deciding an honorable mention, there's kind of a little extra something that might go in to that piece. So can you guys talk maybe a little bit more about what you think separates a piece that's, very technically proficient versus one that, is that and very impactful. So kind of the things that you're already touching on about the impact that a lot of these honorable mentions left on you.
Well, I would that's hard. It's a hard thing to define what turns a picture into a photograph and what turns a photograph into something more than just a photograph. I'm really into music, and I've been playing music and listening to music for years and years and years. And I know people who are virtuosic guitarists whose music bores me to tears. And I know people who are reasonably good guitarists who I would listen to all night long because they bring something else to the performance. It's not just technical expertise, it's mojo. And that's why this photograph, it's just got mojo. It's just something about it. It's can't put words to it.
I think the soft focus helps it. I think that those are some of the decisions that you have to make as a photographer is, what is the final execution? And I think there's so many decisions that are being made about an image of just two rocks in the woods.
Yeah.
If you went out and you gave an assignment to someone and said, create two rocks together in the woods and capture my attention, I don't think everyone would succeed at that task. And they did here.
Thank you both for that. Those are great points. I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit more. I'm curious about, this collection in general. I'm wondering, did you see any maybe emerging trends in photography or emerging themes in the exhibit that were particularly interesting to you?
I did not see a particular trend. I think we were struck by photographers who appeared to spend a great deal of time looking and who have gotten better at the craft because of the time that they spent. I think all the images that we chose were done by people that just weren't lucky. They were deliberate and thoughtful, and that for that reason successful.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of happy accidents. A lot of young photographers come into the gallery to show me work, and oftentimes it's stuff that they've used outdated film or they've cross-processed it. And I say, well, could you go out and do this again? They go, oh no, this is. So I consider that a happy accident. I do like when people have mastered the tools and the craft, and then go out and mess with it and show that they've developed the technical skills to then break the rules. Breaking the rules doesn't mean much to me if you haven't learned the rules to start with. But I don't see necessarily any changes or trends, but I see different phases in photography history in the show, because things like color palette, changes over time. The type of palettes that people use, whether they gravitate towards transparency film or negative film or digital. As transparency films evolved and throughout my career, all of our commercial photographers, our palettes changed from, Kodachrome to Ektachrome to Fujichrome, Velvia, and you could see trends in the world of photography as color palettes change. And I can see that throughout this whole collection. I can see, for me, it's almost like historical. Okay, this person was like in the 80s, this person's in the 70s, which is kind of interesting. But whether that indicates anything or any trends, couldn't say. I'd have to talk to the photographers.
So fair. Yeah. Thank you for letting me both pick your brain about these questions that I'm throwing at you. That's pretty much everything that I have for the awards section. Thank you both, Greg and Joe, for being here tonight. This has been a really wonderful opportunity for me personally to be a part of an exhibit that's been, running in Connecticut for over 40 years. It's truly an honor, and such an honor to be able to talk to both of you and hear more about this process and your work. So thank you guys so much. Eric, I'm going to give it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Arden. You did a great job moving us along. Greg, did you want to say one last thing?
I just wanted to thank Arden. I've been impressed throughout this whole process at your professionalism and how together you are. You know, you're not that old. You're still a college student, and you did a good job. It's impressive. It made our jobs easier, really. And I apologize if I had to keep asking questions about, because I would lose track of the email threads, but.
No, no apologies needed. Thank you. That's so kind of you to say all that.
Absolutely. We're so proud to have her here with us, and just to see her blossom right before our eyes every day. It's fantastic. So yes, thank you. She's
Thank
also
you,
been
Arden.
working with our interns that are high school and college age. There are actually 18 right now that she's been working with on a weekly basis, and helping them learn about the business side of the arts. So they're artists of all kinds, and what we're doing is developing their sense of business, so that when they do perhaps, Greg, follow your footsteps and open a gallery of some kind, or become a ballerina, they'll have a sense of what it means to be a part of a business structure, in addition to their passion for the arts. So I applaud you for all your work on that, Arden. Thank you so much. So and Joe and Greg and I'm sorry Morgan's not here, but he's in Thailand, so I can't really feel too bad for him. But he's going to join us for the gallery talk down at Kehler Liddell, so that'll be fantastic. But thank you both. I don't think anyone really can imagine the magnitude of work that you did for this process. Arden said 4 days. It felt like a month to me. I didn't realize it was only 4 days, but every day they jured the entire show and sent it back to Arden saying, these are my top, and she kept helping them cull it. And they all did it by number, which I ran into an artist the other day and said, oh, I know you as number 78. And so it's an incredible process. You guys are wonderful. I hope you can come and see the show live, and perhaps even join us August 3rd for the opening. That'd be spectacular. I know the artists would love to get to know you and meet you. So again, thanks for your expertise and your insight on all of this. Photographers, we're just so proud of you and proud to be a part of your life. And whether you were selected for the show or you submitted, we know you poured your heart out into this work, your work, and just continue those efforts for us, whether you got in the show or not, because I got to tell you, it means the world to all the people who come into the gallery to see it. We're just, Shoreline Arts Alliance is just honored to be a part of the culture of arts in Connecticut, and can't thank you enough for allowing us to be a part of that. So we just again want to say thank you. We appreciate all the support that you've given, and I want to say one last time that your volunteerism is what has made this thing work. This year we have people signed up already for almost all of the at least one person signed up for almost all of the things that we're doing. And that's incredible. That's shown you've poured your heart out in not only in your art, but also in the process of making this come to life. We have a lot more gallery hours this year for folks to come and experience the art in person, and more events, which you'll learn about shortly if you haven't already. And we invite you to come down to Kehler Liddell. And we want to publicly say thank you, Kehler Liddell Gallery, and all of you artists there, for embracing images and allowing us to be a part of that incredible institution, and being right in the center of the state. This is perfect for a statewide photography competition. So we thank you. Art, if you could push me forward a little bit here, I want to thank our amazing sponsors. These are folks who help carry the burden of keeping the lights on at this institution. And we so appreciate that, and helping us to push forward with, like I said, the internship program and our apprentices, and those folks who are coming to learn about the future, as well as our professional artists and those programs. So we can't thank them enough. I won't read them all off, but here's the folks who think about us on a seasonal basis. So thank you. And then, of course, the people who are at my side. As a matter of fact, we have a 2-day board retreat this week. Thursday and Friday, we're getting together to see how we can push the envelope further and do more of what we're doing. My fantastic board of directors who are come from a widespread area. And I want to highlight one last thing, which I didn't really tell Arden I was going to do this, but I want to say thank you to John Callio. John Callio has created graphics for us. So John Callio was a submitter to images for many years, and he has transitioned into really being our chief graphic designer for all of our work. As a matter of fact, right here on my piano, as people come in to see me, one of his great pieces that he created to for photographers to take out through the area. But what we're really excited about, and I want to make sure that you're all signed up for our newsletter, is that you're going to find out very shortly that he has been, you can't really see that, but I'm going to show you anyway. These are all his graphics from last year's images that he's won an award from Graphic Design USA. And that's pretty amazing that happened, and that we're proud to be a part of that. So John Callio, thank you so much. He actually delivered these posters to me about 5:30 this evening, and he's running around this region getting them posted. So if you ever want to jump in on the team with him and help get them out in the community, and then Bob Thomas has just printed today one of these life size, and it will cover a big portion of the window of the on Main Street there at the Kehler Liddell. So lots of people, I'd highlight those two today. There's lots of other phenomenal folks out there who are doing great things for us. Again, I want to just say thank you, and thank you again, artists, for inspiring us all. We can't say that enough. You inspire us every day. So Arden, why don't you tell us what's next?
Or Greg, did you want to say something?
Oh,
Want to know if I could make just a shameless plug for the gallery? I mean,
please do. Not shameless.
Photography, the Bridge Gallery in Cambridge is dedicated to photography. If you're interested, visit the website at bridge.photos, and you can see all the shows from the past 5 or 6 years. And it's been a pretty impressive lineup. I think and if you'd like to be on the mailing list, go to the contact page and just send us a note.
And Greg, how do they find out about perhaps showing their work in your gallery?
Contact me via the website.
Great. Excellent. So that's what we're all about this year, is making sure that that's one of their reasons to go to New Haven with this show, is we want to be in a location where people see your work more and more each year. So thank you, Greg, for that. When we so appreciate all you do, and thank you, Joe, again, for your work here.
Can I tell you I'm opening a gallery? Joke.
Really? So I have to say, just to, because Joe opened his mouth, I have to say this. Joe has actually juried in the 44 years, I think 43 years we've done images. Joe has been a juror 3 times, and I think that might be a record for this. And he did it. Joe, can you explain when we did it physically?
Yes.
The art was physical.
And it was when all the images were printed, and it was a very different process when we were able to actually handle the images. And then one of the first years of COVID, we did it via Zoom like this, and it's different when you're not seeing the printed image, and
those never made it to a wall that year, unfortunately, because of COVID.
That's right. So this will be a nice change where we had an opportunity to go through all the images, but then we're actually going to see the winners printed, and as Greg pointed out, really critically important how they hang together. And we were cognizant of that, and I think it'll make for a beautiful show.
Yeah, and one more volunteer you just popped in my head is Matthew Garrett, who's going to curate the show for us. So we're just thrilled to be embraced by so many wonderful folks. Arden, take us home. It's almost 8 o'clock.
Well, please join us at our gallery opening on August 3rd from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Kehler Liddell Gallery in New Haven. And also join us on Sunday, August 18th from 2 to 3. Morgan is going to be there in person doing a gallery talk in the same location. So we hope to see you at both of those events. Be sure to go to the website and vote for the People's Choice Awards. And while you're there, consider purchasing one of these wonderful pieces to support the artist and enjoy their work in your home. And tell all your friends to view this discussion and our other events on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. Of course, you can see these images as well as others on our Instagram. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for submitting. Such an honor to be a part of this process and see so much incredible work from across the state. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening and congratulations to all of our winners.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a good night. Thank
Great.
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.